Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to tackle something huge, something that every single company is thinking about, or at least should be thinking about. We're talking about how you can take all the brilliant stuff that's already inside your organization and turn it into a real, tangible, competitive advantage.
So let's start with a tough question. Is your company's most valuable asset literally walking out the door every single day? I mean, think about it. Employee turnover happens, right? But when a seasoned pro leaves, they're not just leaving an open position. They're taking years of experience, all those little project secrets, and that gut instinct for solving problems right along with them. It's kind of like a slow, quiet leak of your company's brainpower. And that is the hidden drain on your business. Imagine this. A new manager starts and they spend the first 2 months just trying to figure out a process that the person before them had absolutely perfected. That delay? That's a real cost. In a world that's all about moving fast, this invisible cost just slows everything down. It kills innovation, and it basically keeps you stuck in place. So how do we fix this? How do we plug that leak? Well, the strategic answer is something called knowledge management, or KM for short. Now, this is not just about making a fancy new shared folder or some database that nobody uses. No way. This is a real, systematic process for intentionally creating, sharing, and managing all the expertise that you already have, making your whole organization way smarter and a lot more effective. And when you get this right, the benefits are just massive. Let's take innovation, for example. Picture a company that builds a system for engineers to share what they learned from every project. Well, suddenly, a failure in one department can become the key piece of information that leads to a breakthrough product in a completely different one. See, you're turning one person's experience into everyone's innovation. But how does this actually work? What does it look like day to day? It's all built around a simple, continuous 4-step cycle. First, you start by creating knowledge, capturing all those little insights from daily work. Then you've got to be sharing it, making sure people can actually get to it. Next up, you're structuring it so it's easy to find and make sense. And finally, you have to be auditing it, making sure the info is still fresh and accurate. This cycle is what turns individual know-how into a company-wide asset. To really get a grip on how to bring this to life, we're going to walk you through what this kind of journey to mastery looks like. We've structured it here as a 2-day program. It's honestly the best way to see how all these ideas build on each other, moving from the basic principles all the way to a full-blown action plan. So the absolute first step in any successful KM strategy is all about building the foundation. This is where you get super clear on the core ideas that are going to drive your whole approach, long before you even think about buying software or writing a policy. Okay, so what are these parameters of KM? Well, it really starts by understanding that there are 2 kinds of knowledge. First, you've got explicit knowledge. That's the stuff you can write down, like reports, manuals, data. Easy. But then there's tacit knowledge. This is the tricky stuff, the intuition, the experience, the stuff that's just in your experts' heads. And let me tell you, the real challenge and the biggest opportunity is figuring out how to capture and share that. And this brings us to the core belief of knowledge management. We have to stop treating knowledge like a dusty old library. Instead, we have to see it as a dynamic, living asset that we need to actively manage and, importantly, measure. There are frameworks like the Balanced Scorecard that can actually help you put a number on the value of your intellectual capital, linking it directly to how well the business is doing. All right, so once that foundation is solid, we shift gears. Day 2 is where the theory stops and the action begins. This next phase is all about constructing real, tangible value from these knowledge assets and then building out a master plan to turn your company's collective intelligence into results you can actually measure. And that really is the crucial point, isn't it? Transforming knowledge into value. What this means is learning how to talk about the impact of KM in the language of business. For example, imagine being able to show your leadership team how a shared database of best practices for the sales team directly led to a shorter sales cycle and a 10% bump in closed deals. Now you're talking. Now, to do that well, you need the right tools. There are actual methodologies like Knowledge Value Added that help you analyze your business processes to pinpoint exactly where knowledge is making the biggest difference. This is what lets you calculate and prove a clear return on investment for any KM project you want to launch. And of course, a modern KM strategy is absolutely supercharged by AI. I mean, think about it. Before, you had someone manually tagging thousands of documents. Now, AI tools can automatically scan, categorize, and connect information from all these different siloed sources. It creates these intelligent systems that can serve up the exact piece of knowledge an employee needs right in the moment they need it. It's a game changer.
And finally, all of these pieces, the foundation, the value proposition, the tools, they all come together in your implementation plan. This means you do a deep dive into what knowledge you have, find the critical gaps, and then design a concrete plan to fill them. That could be anything from a new expert directory to a mentorship program to a lessons learned database for your big projects.
So let's just recap the key things you walk away with. First, you master that continuous cycle of creating and sharing knowledge. Second, you know how to apply it to win in our crazy data-driven world. Third, you can actually measure the ROI of knowledge. And finally, you walk out with a clear master plan to make it all happen in your own organization. Look, implementing a strategy like this isn't just some IT project. It needs buy-in and action from leaders all across the company. You need senior management to provide the vision and the resources. You need talent development managers to build that learning culture. And you need team leaders on the ground to really champion the new ways of working that make it all stick.
At the end of the day, the collective genius of your organization is probably your single greatest untapped resource. It's already there, just waiting. So the real question isn't whether you have it or not, it's what are you going to do to finally unlock it?